My stepsister crossed every line. She damaged my car at the courthouse after I refused to cover for her lies. So, a bit of background first. My stepsister Sarah, 34, has always had boundary issues. Like, she'll borrow stuff without asking, invite herself into people's plans, and act shocked when you set limits. We're not close, but we tolerated each other because, well, family. This all came to head recently because of a case involving my dad's estate. Long story short, there's been tension over money and property ever since he passed last year. Sarah insists she's entitled to more than she actually is, and we've been going back and forth through lawyers. Court was basically the last resort. That morning, I drove to the county courthouse with my dad's widow, Sarah's stepmom. My mom's nerves were shot. She kept fiddling with her purse strap as we walked in. My brother James, 31, showed up too, just to support me, and honestly, I was relieved he's the calm one in the family. Inside, Sarah was already there, arms crossed, glaring at me like I'd stolen her soul. She muttered something under her breath when I passed, but I ignored it. The hearing itself wasn't explosive, just dry legal talk, but Sarah kept rolling her eyes and whispering to her lawyer loud enough for everyone to hear. The real nightmare started after. We walked out to the courthouse and I immediately froze. My car, silver Honda Civic I've babied since college, looked like it had been through a riot. The rear windshield was completely smashed in, glass scattered all over the parking lot. My side mirrors, both shattered. Even one of my tires was slashed. What the hell? I yelled, my voice cracking. People turned to look. Sarah was standing about 20 feet away, smoking like nothing happened. She literally smirked at me. Yes, you should have thought twice before trying to screw me over. James stormed over. Sarah, did you do this? She shrugged, flicking her cigarette on the ground. Can you prove it? My mom's face went pale. Oh my god, Sarah, this is criminal. She clutched my arm like she needed to hold herself up. I was shaking with rage. My car wasn't just a car, it was my independence, my daily lifeline. You don't get to destroy my stuff just because you don't like what the judge said. I shouted. My voice was echoing across the lot. Sarah actually laughed. Maybe next time you'll remember who you're messing with. At that point, a security officer from the courthouse walked over. Is there a problem here? He asked, eyeing the broken glass. I gestured wildly at my car. Yeah, there's a problem. She just destroyed my vehicle. Sarah put on this fake innocent face. What? No, I was standing here the whole time. But I noticed something that made my stomach drop and how it raised several people in the lot of their phones out. They'd been recording when she was standing there gloating. I realized I had witnesses. And that's when everything blew up. The security officer immediately called the local police, since this was clearly outside his jurisdiction. Sarah's smirk faltered just a little when she realized people had actually recorded her standing there, practically confessing. James pulled out his phone too. Don't even try to gaslight us, Sarah. Half the parking lot saw you standing over the car like you were in it. Sarah snapped back. Shut up, James. You've always hated me. My mom was trembling beside me. She whispered, honey, don't engage. Let the police handle it, but my blood was boiling. I could feel my hands shaking as I tried to take photos of the car for insurance. My Civic looked like something out of a crime show, glass everywhere, deep scratches carved into the paint like someone had taken a key to it for fun. When the cops arrived, 2 officers got out and started asking questions. One of them, Officer Ramirez, took one look at my car and said, all right, whose vehicle is this? It's mine, I said, pointing to the mangled Honda. And my stepsister did this. Sarah immediately launched into her act. That's a lie, I've been standing right here. She just wants to ruin me because of the inheritance. She crossed her arms, feigning outrage. Officer Ramirez looked at me, then at her. Do you have proof? I gestured toward the small crowd of people holding up their phones. Yeah, half the courthouse does. One woman stepped forward, a middle-aged lady in a business suit. I recorded her. She was yelling at them and bragging about it right after the glass broke. I got the whole thing. Sarah's face drained of colour. That's fake. People can edit videos. James couldn't hold back. Oh my god, Sarah, you're unbelievable. The second officer turned to Sarah. Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us for questioning. That's when Sarah completely lost it. She started yelling, this isn't fair, you're all ganging up on me, they've always treated me like I don't belong in this family. Her voice echoed across the lot, drawing even more attention. My mom broke down crying right there. She covered her face with her hands and whispered, your father would be ashamed. I felt sick. This wasn't just property damage, it was years of pent-up resentment boiling over. Sarah didn't care about the car. She wanted to hurt me in the loudest, most humiliating way possible, right outside the courthouse where the whole town could see. When the officers finally led her toward the squad car, Sarah twisted around and screamed at me, you think you won? This isn't over. People were whispering, staring, phones still out. My stomach was in knots. I wasn't just furious, I was humiliated. My whole family drama was now public spectacle. James put a hand on my shoulder. Hey, we'll get this sorted. Don't let her see you break. But I already felt broken. Watching Sarah thrash against the cops as they tried to put her in the back seat, I realized this wasn't just about boundaries anymore. This was war. The next day, the courthouse was buzzing. Apparently, Sarah had called her lawyer in a panic and tried to file some counterclaim saying I had provoked her, which was ridiculous. I arrived early with James, the mom, bracing myself for the kind of chaos only Sarah could manufacture. As we walked through the marble hallways, I spotted her sitting smugly in the waiting area, whispering to her lawyer. She looked up, caught my eye, and smirked. That smirk made my blood boil. I had spent the morning replaying every insult, every slight from her over the years, and now she had the audacity to act like she was the victim. The courtroom clerk called the case, and we all stood. Sarah's lawyer spoke first, trying to paint her as a misunderstood family member pushed to the edge. I almost laughed out loud. Officer Ramirez and the witnesses were called in to testify. One by one, people recounted seeing her near my car, standing over it, and even laughing while the glass shattered. The evidence was damning. Then it was my turn to speak. I tried to keep my voice steady, but it cracked with emotion. Your Honour, this isn't just a car, this is my property, my independence, and my safety. My stepsister crossed a line that should never have been crossed. I don't know if she realizes the fear she caused my family standing there, yelling, smashing glass right outside this courthouse. Sarah's face turned red, and she whispered furiously to her lawyer. I could practically see the gears turning, trying to twist this into a family dispute instead of a crime. But the witnesses weren't backing down. Then, Sarah did something completely unexpected. She stood up mid-hearing and pointed at me. You think you're perfect. You've been manipulating Mom against me for years. You've always been the favoured one. I froze. I expected her to yell, maybe curse, but this was crossing a line even for her. James's face went pale. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. The courtroom murmured. I don't know what you're talking about, I said, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was racing. She took a step closer. I'll show you. I'll show everyone. At that moment, the judge slammed the gavel. Miss Sarah, calm yourself. This is a courtroom, not a stage for family drama. If you continue this behavior, you will be removed immediately. Sarah froze for a second, glaring at the judge. Then she muttered something under her breath and slumped back into her chair, sulking. That's when I realized she had no plan beyond chaos. By the end of the hearing, the judge ruled in my favor. Sarah was cited for property damage and ordered to pay for repairs, plus a small fine. She tried to argue, to beg, to make it look like I was bullying her, but the witnesses, the photos, and even the security camera footage made it impossible for her to weasel out. As we left the courtroom, James gave me a side hug. You did it. You stood your ground. Mom hugged me so tightly I could barely breathe. I'm so proud of you, she whispered. Sarah walked out last, arms crossed, scowling at the world. I knew this wasn't the end of her antics, but for now, the boundaries she had violently violated had been reinforced. The aftermath was messy, to say the least. Walking out of the courthouse, the winter air hit me like a slap. Glass shards still littered the parking lot, a cruel reminder of what Sarah had done. I kept expecting her to charge at me again, but she just lingered by the curb, glaring and muttering to her lawyer. Back at my mom's house, the tension was palpable. Mom was exhausted, pacing around the living room, while James tried to help me calm down. It's over, at least legally, he said, but I wasn't so sure. Sarah's fury has a way of lingering, like smoke in a room you can't air out. Mom sighed, flopping into the sofa. I can't believe she actually did that in front of everyone. Her voice cracked. Your father would have been horrified. I rubbed my temples. She's always pushed boundaries, by this destroying property outside a courthouse. She doesn't care about anyone but herself. Then, like clockwork, Sarah called. I let it ring, not even bothering to answer. A few minutes later, James picked up. I could hear her whining through the speaker. You have to make her stop. Sarah demanded, her voice high-pitched and almost theatrical. Mom, you're letting her ruin everything. She's taking sides and lying about me. James barked. Sarah, she didn't ruin anything. You smashed a car and yelled at people. You need to take responsibility. There was silence on the line, then a long sigh from Sarah. I just feel like you all are ganging up on me. You don't care about my feelings. I wanted to scream. Her feelings had nothing to do with boundaries, respect, although they were an excuse to justify violence. I leaned back in the chair, trying to breathe. A week later, the insurance guy came to assess the car. He shook his head. This isn't minor. Rear windshield, mirrors, scratches, a slashed tire that's at least $2,500 in damages. You're lucky it wasn't worse. Mom hugged me as I stared at the paperwork. We'll get it fixed. Don't let her win. But the emotional fallout wasn't over. Sarah, of course, tried to manipulate other family members. Aunt Linda called me 2 days later, sounding unsure. I don't know. Maybe you provoked her. I mean, she's family. I felt my chest tighten. Aunt Linda, destroying property is not a family disagreement. She crossed the line, and the court agrees. This isn't up for debate. Eventually, even Aunt Linda relented, realizing Sarah's narrative didn't hold against the evidence. But the tension at family gatherings was now undeniable. Sarah sat in corners, glaring, refusing to make eye contact, occasionally muttering under her breath about how unfair everyone was. For me, the biggest relief was knowing that boundaries had been enforced. I had stood my ground, proven that property damage isn't acceptable, and that public humiliation or intimidation doesn't get a free pass just because you're family. Yet, as I looked at my repaired car a few weeks later, I realized something. Sarah hadn't learned her lesson. She'd been stopped legally, but emotionally and psychologically. That boundary could still be tested, and I had to be ready. 2 months after the courthouse incident, I thought things had settled. My car was fully repaired, the legal process was officially closed, and Sarah had mostly avoided contact. But of course, Sarah doesn't just disappear, she escalates quietly, like a storm brewing in the distance. It started with subtle digs at family events. During a Sunday brunch at Mom's, she made comments like, I hope nobody's expecting peace and quiet from me. Innocuous? Maybe. But the way she looked at me, I knew it was a challenge. Then came the text messages. At first, they were passive-aggressive. Hope you like your shiny car. Too bad it didn't teach you anything. I ignored them, but they grew darker over the next few days. Everyone's on my side, you'll see. Finally, one evening, James called me, voice tense. Sarah's outside your place. She says she wants to talk things over. I don't like this. I froze. My apartment isn't far from Mom's, but it's my safe space. I knew letting her in was a bad idea. Stay there, I told James. I'm calling the cops if she tries anything. She rang the bell anyway, loudly and repeatedly. When I peeked through the window, she was standing there, arms crossed, smirking like it was a game. Sarah, leave now, I shouted. I just want to fix things, she called back. Why are you so mean? I didn't really mean to. Her voice trailed off, then she laughed sharply. Or did I? I realized this wasn't about reconciliation. This was about testing me, seeing if I'd let her cross the boundary again. I stepped outside, keeping a safe distance, my hands visible. Sarah, I've had enough. This stops now. I'm not letting you intimidate me, period. She tilted her head. You think you can set rules for me? You think a court case scared me? Everyone sees who the problem really is. I felt anger flare, but I stayed calm. No one is afraid of you. You destroyed property, humiliated the family, and now you're harassing me. I don't care what you think of me, you're crossing the line again. If you come any closer, I'll call the police. Her smirk faltered for the first time. You serious? I'm deadly serious, I said. This ends now. Boundaries aren't suggestions, they're rules. You either respect them, or you face consequences, again. For a long moment she just stared. I could see the fight and frustration in her eyes. Then, slowly, she turned, muttering something under her breath, and stalked off down the street. James and I watched her go from the doorway. Mom's words echoed in my mind. Your father would have been proud. I realized this confrontation wasn't just about property or the court, it was about asserting limits, and finally making Sarah understand that her manipulation and boundary violations had consequences. That night, I felt a mix of relief and exhaustion. I knew Sarah might try again, but for the first time, I felt confident I could stand my ground. The courthouse incident had been the catalyst, but this confrontation had solidified it. Boundaries are mind and force, and no steps is even one as reckless as Sarah gets to cross them without consequences. The following weeks were tense, like walking on eggshells around every family interaction. Sarah didn't come near my apartment again, but she found other ways to stir the pot. She sent snide comments and group texts, posted cryptic social media updates about family betrayal, and even tried to twist Aunt Linda into believing she was the real victim. Mum was frustrated, caught between wanting peace and wanting to defend me. I can't believe she's still trying to control everything, she admitted one evening. I just want a normal family. James and I tried to shield ourselves emotionally. We didn't respond to Sarah's provocations online or in texts. We blocked her most aggressive messages but kept a record for legal reasons, just in case. It felt exhausting, but we knew boundaries weren't just about confrontation, they were about consistency. The real storm came at a small family gathering a month later. It was supposed to be casual Mom's birthday at her house. Sarah arrived, of course, fashionably late, and immediately made the room uncomfortable. She cornered Aunt Linda first, whispering and pointing subtly at me. I caught snippets. She's making everyone take her side, it's not fair. I tried to stay calm, sitting with James and a few cousins, refusing to react. Sarah thrived on reactions, and I wasn't giving her one. But then she made her move, she approached the cake table and started critiquing everything, loudly. Why is the frosting so ugly? Did you even try? She looked at me with that same smirk from the courthouse lot. I felt my chest tighten. I could feel the old adrenaline spike, the one from the day she smashed my car. But instead of lashing out, I stood up. Sarah, enough, I said firmly. You're ruining Mom's birthday and crossing boundaries again. Leave if you can't behave. She froze. The room went quiet. Everyone was staring. You can't talk to me like that, she shouted, voice cracking. I'm family. And family doesn't destroy property or harass other members. I shot back. You've tested boundaries enough, this ends tonight. You either respect us or you leave. James stepped forward, supporting me. We're not going to argue, you have to make a choice. Sarah looked like she might explode, but then she stormed out, slamming the front door. For a moment, the room was silent. Mom hugged me, tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, you stayed strong. I realised something important in that moment. The legal victory at the courthouse had been necessary, but enforcing boundaries consistently in everyday life was even more crucial. Sarah had tried to manipulate everyone, stir drama, and test limits. But now, she was learning that consequences weren't temporary, they were permanent when it came to my personal space and property. For the first time, the family felt somewhat normal again. The tension was still there, lurking under the surface, but at least we had the tools and confidence to protect ourselves. Sarah's antics had tested our limits, but we had survived and, more importantly, we had drawn clear lines that she could no longer ignore. The final chapter of the saga came a few months later, quietly but decisively. Sarah hadn't caused any more dramatic incidents, but we all knew she was simmering under the surface. The court case and the family confrontation had set a precedent. Boundaries were not optional, and our family would no longer tolerate her manipulation. Mom decided to host a small dinner for just immediate family, me, James, and herself. Sarah wasn't invited. The air was lighter than it had been in months, and we actually laughed for the first time in a long while. It felt normal, and that normalcy was healing. Still, Sarah didn't disappear entirely. She sent an email, carefully worded, attempting to frame herself as the wrong party. My heart raced as I opened it, expecting guilt or rage. But I read it carefully, then forwarded it to our lawyer. That was the last we heard from her legally. She had tried to manipulate and intimidate, and the system and our firm boundary enforcement had shut it down. I reflected on what had happened outside the courthouse. Sarah's actions weren't just about the car, they were about control, power, and testing limits. But what I learned is that boundaries aren't just rules for others, they are a form of self-respect. By standing firm, I protected not only my property, but also my mental space, my family's safety, and my dignity. Even Aunt Linda, who had wavered for a moment, admitted later in private, you were right to stand up to her. I think she finally understands that no one is afraid of her anymore. Hearing that made me realise the ripple effect of enforcing boundaries. It wasn't just about me, it was about restoring some sense of fairness and safety for everyone involved. Sarah hasn't apologised. She hasn't reached out again. And honestly, I don't expect her to. What matters is that the message has been sent and reinforced. Harassment, intimidation, and property damage have consequences even if it's family. Looking back, I see this as more than just a dramatic episode at the courthouse. It was a defining moment in how I navigate relationships. Sarah's behaviour forced me to be firm, assertive, and unflinching in the face of chaos. I realised that family isn't just about tolerance, it's also about protecting yourself and holding people accountable, even when they're supposed to love you. James and I joke now that the courthouse smash incident will be legendary in family lore, but beneath the humour is a serious lesson. Boundaries are essential, and crossing them comes with real-world consequences. Mum often says, I just want peace for us. And for the first time in years, I can honestly say it feels possible. We'll always have Sarah and family, but we no longer live in fear of her crossing the line. For once, the line is clear and unbreakable.